Howdy, and welcome to the Lost Rider podcast. It's an honor and privilege to address you in the capacity of an interviewer, reporter, and media member. Too many modern media outlets have forgone the integrity and responsibility required of credible information sources. What you will receive here are straightforward discussions with legislators, agency leaders, biologists, engineers, doctors, and countless other experts that have the answers to questions often circulated as kitchen table issues. The title Lost Rider may be thought of literally as well as in the metaphorical sense. While there has been the instance that I was momentarily a little turned around at night in a wilderness area, the idea of being a lost rider in life, well, that fits most folks at some time. These renderings are coming to you in the form of the 25-year-old radio program, The News from the Camp House. It still airs every Saturday morning at 6:30 a.m. Central Time on KULM 98.3 FM out of Columbus, Texas. The original intent was to relate outdoor topics to the general public. Immediately, it was found that all issues are relatable to the outdoors and that people are people. They all play a role and they all have a vested interest. It's this program's desire to answer common questions about how the world works, how it will operate in the future, and what's the holdup? So please listen, enjoy, and never hesitate to contact us with more questions and feedback. Good morning and welcome to this weekend's edition of News from the Camp House, the listening post of the Texas Sportsman Association. This is Herman Brune, and this weekend's edition is also brought to us by Shaw's Bend Social Club. Shaw's Bend Social Club, country club for folks who don't have a country club. All right, we've got a special guest with us this weekend, young lady that everyone should know, and she is our General Land Office Commissioner, and this is Ms. Dawn Buckingham. Dawn, how you doing this morning?
Hey, we're living the dream. I get to sit and talk to you today.
Well, thank you. All right, I'll tell you what, real quick, give me a quick summary. The General Land Office does a lot of stuff, and it's a safe place. I think it was a safe place till George Bush was here, and then he didn't have such a good go of it. And I know people are a lot more comfortable with you being here, and I'm going to let you explain a little bit about what y'all do all the time and your priorities.
Well, I tell you what, I'm just a country girl with a long Texas lineage, so this is the perfect job for me. Most people don't realize that the General Land Office is the last remaining entity of the Republic of Texas, founded by the Republic to be the keepers of maps, guardians of Texas history, and the steward to what today is 13 million acres. And in their brilliance, our forefathers set aside that land to fund education, which today means that I'm the largest mineral owner in the state. I'm responsible for the majority of oil and gas in Texas, which is responsible for almost the majority of oil and gas in the entire country. I wrote a $2 billion check to public education last year alone, and this year I think it's worth about $1.5 billion. And so part of my job is, of course, unapologetically standing up for oil and gas, but I love the funding education part of it. We also do everything coast. So beach renourishment, habitat restoration. I love to hunt and fish. Can't wait to start talking about that in a little bit. We do oil spill cleanups, derelict vessels cleanups. We're embarking on the largest infrastructure project that the Army Corps of Engineers has ever done in a coastal spine project, which is basically a resiliency barrier starting at Louisiana all the way to Mexico to keep our coast safe when hurricanes come in. A lot of it's normal type stuff we used to seeing every day. Dunes and levees, but there'll be some probably big gates like the Houston Ship Channel and things like that we're figuring out. We are wrapping up the largest disaster recovery this country has ever seen in the Hurricane Harvey recovery. 49 counties impacted by that hurricane. Getting ready to put a bow on that, hopefully. We've got $1 billion in flood mitigation projects going on up and down the coast. And very importantly, we run a lot of our veterans benefits. We have veterans nursing homes across the state, veterans cemeteries, and a veterans mortgage program, which our veterans don't know about. So you can buy any house, any piece of property, as long as it's, only so much of a loan. And that program can be combined with the federal program, even though it's separate. So it's a great opportunity for our veterans if they're trying to get into a house. And then we have this little thing called the Alamo, $550 million project, and I have a feeling we'll get into that in a little bit.
All right, yes, absolutely. A lot, and I think it might be hard for elected people. But when it comes to something like the Alamo, we felt good when Jerry Patterson got control of the Alamo. We felt like, okay, well, it's got a good home. And then what I just said a minute ago about George P. Bush, yeah, he took a big hit on that about mishandling the Alamo. Now, my source on this is Ms. Lee Spencer White, and if she says you're doing a good job, I'm okay. All right, whatever you say. The descendants of the Alamo have my ear, and if they're happy with you, I think everybody should be.
Well, that's kind of you to say, and yes, if Lee Spencer White's happy, we're happy too. But, we are in a phenomenal place with the Alamo, and of all the things we're doing that are so important, truly, I believe getting the Alamo right is the most important thing that we're doing right now. And what we're actually doing is making a visit to the Alamo worthy of the significance of the events that happened there for the first time ever since the battle happened. So let me walk you through some of those. But for those Jerry Patterson lovers out there, he's awesome. I love him too. He is on our museum committee, so he's helping us be sure that we keep it on the right track. So we've pulled him back in, and he is engaged. Do want to give a huge shout out. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick loves the Alamo, is one of our staunch defenders, is sure that we're having the financial resources to do what we really need to do to get this project done. So a huge thank you to him. But you might remember a bit ago, Phil Collins, the famous British singer, bequeathed us with his collection with the requirement that we would build a collection center to display it. So that opened up last year. It's amazing, super fun. Right now, we've broken ground on a children's education center, so we're going to have curriculum for our kids from early childhood all the way to high school, teaching them our proud history. And when I say our proud history, I'm talking our line in the sand, liberty or death, all that good stuff. And then, so that'll be done in about a year, so that'll be really exciting. And then we've got a 100,000 square foot museum that we're in process on. Of course, the museum is battle-centric. That's why everybody came. But it does set the battle in the context of time. We're going to talk about early Texas. We're going to talk about the mission period. We're going to talk about how the Alamo continues to affect pop culture. We're going to have a 4D theater inside of it, so you're going to sit behind a defender. Your seat is going to shake when those cannonballs hit. You're going to smell that gun smoke and that fire and all the things going on for a completely immersive experience in the battle. And then we get to the cenotaph in the church. I'll pick up the cenotaph first because that's the first thing people are going to be seeing some stuff on. So first of all, I'm the one that threw down the legal challenge that kept the cenotaph where it should be. So it's not moving. And we did secure ownership from the city of San Antonio. So now all of Texans own the cenotaph, not just the citizens of San Antonio. But it has some need for repairs. Right. So we're going to start those renovations in January. We think we've come up with a really good approach to get it shored up as much as possible while keeping those priceless carvings and everything intact. So we're going to be releasing a video here probably in the next week or two that's going to kind of show everybody all of that. And we'll, of course, have a 24-hour webcam so people can keep up on it. The thing I really want people to know, and the thing that's going to get a lot of attention, is that the Alamo, which was the church and the fort, so church, Alamo, kind of interchangeably in our world, but it has some real structural integrity issues. The roof is over 100 years old. It's well beyond its lifespan. It's causing active damage to the building. That damage is that water mixing with salts is getting into those limestone walls. So if you've seen limestone around a saltwater pool, it doesn't end very well. So those walls have some issues as well. Additionally, the sacristy, it's one of the little side rooms, right, was cut down to about a third of its original size, the footprint that it was in the battle. Now, I say this with love, folks. size matters in Texas. Everything's big. We want it in the original footprint at least, right? So we'll probably get it back to that original footprint, get the old roof off, and we're in process with the Historical Commission, a whole group of experts to decide what roof to put back on. But what people need to understand is if we're going to take that roof off, we, of course, have to protect it in the meantime while that new roof is going on. So we'll build a temporary structure, kind of like a really big barn, over it. So that way, if we get a big hailstorm, a big rainstorm, damage isn't happening to Alamo. Once we get it all put back together and everything is great, that temporary structure will go away and should be good for several hundred years.
All right. No, this is all good stuff. There's already a museum on, what is that, the east side? A new museum on the right.
There's the collection center is
Right.
opened up on the east side. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Okay. There's already a lot more to see. The street's closed in front of the Alamo. They're building. There's an entrance. There's the entrance.
The Mission Gate and the
Yes.
Lunette. So you
Yes.
get an idea of where the Mexican army and how they breached the wall coming on that fateful day.
Right. Right. There's already been a whole lot of work. Done. It's already turned into not just something to stand back and look at, and what it used to be just kind of go through the Alamo and the gift shop and around the garden. Now there's a lot more to see. There's a lot more to learn. The living historians, they're a hoot.
Our living historians are a lot of fun, and it's truly a calling with what they do.
Yes. Okay. Now here's another thing. I know you didn't know this. The Texas Army, they visit Columbus and come out and camp on our place. And the Texas Army is the recognized Army of Texas. Some of those guys are some of the living historians that stand around and give people renditions of what happened in different places. And if you want to be a colonel in the Texas Army, you have to be commissioned by the governor, and you have to pass a shooting regimen with your musket, and that's how come they come out to our place. But no, it's great. It's looking great over there.
Well, it's super exciting to be a part of that. So I tell everybody, come now. There's still, like you said, so much to see. It's already so much more of an amazing experience, and then come back in a couple years when we're all done, and you're going to be really impressed.
All right. I'll tell you what, let's take a quick break, and thank the folks who let us come on here every morning. We're going to come back, Ms. Buckingham, Commissioner Buckingham. Want to know more about what the General Land Office does in Texas as far as conservation is concerned. We'll be right back.
Thank goodness for all the great sponsors we have here at News from the Camp House. H-E-B Food Stores. That's Stephen Tice at H-E-B. He helps me. He helps the community. He's a great man. I'm so thankful H-E-B loosened him up, lets him go around and sponsor a few things. H-E-B's got all your food needs. It's the greatest food store we got here in Columbus. Thank goodness for H-E-B. First State Bank. You go over to the First State Bank, they'll take care of all your loans, all your deposits, your savings, anything you need. Bunch of great hometown people over there. You got Celia Tobias, John Pollock. Everybody over there is looking out for you. Miss Barbara Barta. It's a great bunch of folks at the First State Bank is also sponsoring News from the Camp House. First State Bank takes care of all my business. Baumgart Agency, Susan Baumgart at the Baumgart Agencies, her and Germania. She told me to plug Germania. Germania is an insurance that she likes everybody to know about. The Baumgart Agencies. Miss Susan and I are classmates, being classmates. She got me out of high school, sat right beside her, put us in alphabetical order where I could copy. And Susan Baumgart over at the Baumgart Agency taking care of all your insurance needs. Lyco Realty, one of the original sponsors of News from the Camp House. Lyco Realty, the oldest real estate company in the county, and for the last 3 years voted the favorite realtor in the county. Lyco Realty, that's Miss Kimberly Johnson. That's Crockett's granddaughter. More kinfolks and classmates and great people from Colorado County. People from Colorado County helping people from Colorado County. That's great. Oh, thank goodness for all these wonderful people come to me want to be sponsors for News from the Camp House.
Good morning and welcome to the second half of this week's News from the Camp House, listening post of the Texas Sportsman Association. Tell you what, we got a very special guest on this week, the Commissioner of the Texas General Land Office, Ms. Dawn Buckingham. And so glad to have her on here. She's telling us a lot about the General Land Office. We haven't had the commissioner of this particular agency on since Jerry Patterson was here. And Ms. Dawn, you said y'all have Jerry back again, right?
We do. We've put Jerry on some of our committees at the Alamo, so he's sure we keep it where it should be. So he's a good guy.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Let's talk more about conservation, okay? Texas Outdoor Writers Association, and we're all about conservation. So you've got a coastal projects and a bunch of other stuff, but let's talk a little bit about hunting and fishing and Texas General Land Office and y'all's roles in conservation.
Absolutely. Well, I'm a big outdoors woman. In fact, our vacations tend to not come with roofs and air conditioning. We're usually out hunting, fishing, hiking, rafting, something like that. So I take the outdoors very seriously. Love to hunt. Shot my first deer when I was 7, and I have the picture if you want to see it. It's a beautiful picture. But anyway, so we do all kinds of things. We're revitalizing thousands of acres of marshlands. We're being sure that all of our coast, where our fish are hatching, where our birds are nesting and hatching, that those are in good shape, getting them back into shape. Sometimes we're doing some cleanup if there's any kind of oil spill. Stewarding 13 million acres. We've got land all over the state. I was up in the Panhandle yesterday. We'll be down in the Valley tomorrow. We've got timberlands in East Texas. Of course, we have a ton in the oil patch in West Texas. And so we're doing all kinds of fun stuff. We're helping I've got 2 quail masters on staff, so we're working on getting our native grasses back, getting our quail habitat up, seeing if we can't support those numbers. Although, this year's a bumper crop of quail. I don't know that we've seen in the last couple decades. But so we're doing everything we can to be sure that our beautiful Texas natural places are staying natural and our animals are doing well.
All right. Tell me a little bit more about, I had some gentlemen specifically asked me to talk about the coastal regions.
Sure. So we're putting a ton of sand on beaches. We're doing a lot with living shorelines. Oysters are great, right? They're good to eat, and they clean the water, and they help with erosion. It's a win-win-win. So we're doing a lot of that. We're helping with various aspects of keeping our bays healthy, whether that's water treatment plants to be sure that effluent isn't causing problems in our bays. We're doing a ton of flood mitigation projects, actually about $1 billion worth up and down the coast. We're doing a ton of stuff. And then, of course, the Coastal Spine Project is a series of dunes, levees, probably big gates at some of our port entries to be sure that when those hurricanes do come in, that those storm surge doesn't devastate our coast as much.
Right. Okay. Let's talk a little bit more now, because one of the aspects that we run into is who takes care of what, because everyone's got an interest in water issues, and it kind of overlaps. I mean, sometimes you're talking, in our particular instance, we're talking to LCRA, or we're talking to Texas Parks and Wildlife, or we're trying to talk to TCEQ, and it's a lot of times you see them pointing their fingers at each other as to whose problem it is.
Well, you're right. There's a ton of overlap in jurisdiction. I kind of view myself, since I'm the largest landowner in the state, I can stick up for landowners in a way that a lot of our smaller landowners can't always fight the big fights. So we kind of jump into some big fights on occasion. Waterways of the U.S., for example, doing a lot of education on I'll just call it the Harris administration 30 by 30, Biden-Harris, where they're trying to get 30% of each state's landmass under federal control by 2030. And their idea of pollution is your cows walking across your field, kicking up dust. So it's a different kind of conservation easement, so we're trying to be sure that our landowners don't get hoodwinked into that kind of stuff. But yeah, we're doing everything we can to help our property owners stand up for individual property owner rights, to keep our wild places wild and beautiful, and help our native animals.
All right. Let's talk a little bit. Most recently, you sent a gentleman out to the Texas Outdoor Riders Fall Stampede, and he was there on behalf of the Veterans Board. And would you elaborate a little bit on what y'all do with the veterans?
Yes, I am very clear on the fact that we are the land of the free because of the brave. So for all of our veterans and all of their families listening out there, thank you for your service, because it's not just our veterans that serve, right? The families at home, in some way, that's almost harder. But we love our veterans, and the Veterans Land Board. Texas is the only state that we have a mortgage lending program for our veterans. It's a below market rate, so it saves you a bunch of money on your house. You can buy a house, you can buy property, or you can renovate a house, and there are different amounts depending on what. Now, we do also have veteran land sales on our website. Those are properties that, for whatever reason, one of our veterans, it got foreclosed on, or they decided they didn't want it, or whatever. But you can buy those, but you can also go and buy any piece of property as long as it's within the loan amount that we can lend you. And it's just a great opportunity for our veterans, and it is exciting to help our veterans get into good housing.
All right. Okay. Thank you. All right. And when we're talking about, I'll go back the other direction now. When we're talking about overlap with agencies, and we're talking about conservation, this is something where Commissioner Craddock and I have discussed some of this, and some of your overlap with them.
Yeah, we love the Railroad Commission. Of course, we work hand in hand. Right now, we're working most closely on those oil wells out in Trinity Bay. So there are a bunch of abandoned wells, orphaned wells, that are a real problem. The Railroad Commission has to plug them, and then once they're plugged, I can get them out of there. So we're working with the Railroad Commission, helping them find some resources so that we can get those wells plugged, and I can get them out of there, and then our bay is even more beautiful.
All right. Well, okay, what's that mean, get them out of there?
Well, you have to cut them off down below the mud level, so that, there's nothing sticking up if the bottom changes a little bit and catches a boat. And then, honestly, we're working on a rigs to reef program. So, you put something out in the salt water, stuff grows on it. So let's grow more habitat for our fish,
right.
And get some even better fishing spots.
All right. Yes, the reef program, that's been around for a while. Is it progressing?
It is a little bit. Right now, Parks and Wildlife is technically in charge of it because they're doing it in federal waters. But I've tasked my coastal team with a nearshoring reef program so that we can start really thinking about how to get more reefs a little closer in and help our fish even more.
All right. Okay. One of the other aspects that you mentioned earlier was the maps, and that's a really cool part that I don't think people know about. Now, I've got a few of them in my house, but y'all have just about anything you want, and it's all from the Republic of Texas on.
That's right. In fact, we probably have one of the oldest maps in the United States. We have a map from 1500 in our collection. Of course, we have all the original Texas maps. Let's just say you live in Waller County and you want to see what that original map looked like. We've got it. Let's just say you want to see the original plat map for Houston, Texas. We've got it. There's so many amazing things. If you're from a Texas family, anybody who had a land grant, anybody who served, for example, we have all of those documents. We have all of those maps. You can actually, my family came in the early 1800s. Guy named Britt Bailey. We were actually there before some guy named Austin was, but ironically the General Land Office chose in favor of Austin over my family. We might be revisiting that case from 1836, by the way. But anyway, you can laugh there. That was funny. But, when I first got elected, I said, hey, do you have any of the stuff, from my family, this original land grant, all this stuff? And they pulled it right out of the drawer, right out of the archive, and I could see the ink he signed, his signature right there on that piece of paper from the early 1800s. So it's super cool. It's online as well. We have, of course, a public viewing space here at the Stephen F. Austin building, 2 blocks north of the Capitol. So if you're here, come visit us. We're actually building a bigger display space because we're getting some donations of some map collections that are even super fun as well. And but come see us. But you can also look online if you think we might have some of your family's documents.
All right. I got one more question. How involved does the General Land Office get in some of the issues that go on during the legislature? One of the big things going to be coming up is going to be property taxes. How involved do y'all get in that discussion?
Well, in the executive branch, I'm not allowed to advocate for or against any policy. So, but we can, as an individual, speak on the fact that we pay way too much property tax. We're all for lowering it.
All right, but the General Land Office is not in that battle.
It is not. So we have to stay in our lane in the executive branch.
All right. Okay. All right. I'll tell you what, we're running out of time, but I really appreciate you being with us this morning. I look forward to talking to you again, and look forward to having General Land Office participate in some of the Texas Outdoor Rider stuff.
We will look forward to that, and thanks so much for having me on today. God bless you.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Folks, I hope you enjoyed this weekend's edition of News from the Camp House. It's also brought to us by the Shaw's Bend Social Club, the country club for folks who don't have a country club. All right, y'all go out, have a safe weekend. Y'all have a lot of fun, have a good weekend. Just remember, pretty much any day is sure a good day to be out in the woods.